Hello and welcome to another episode of the O&M Stockroom with your hosts Brian
and Ken.
And tonight's episode, Complimentary Cinema. What film are we going to talk about today, Ken?
We are going to talk about the 2015 classic Tracers.
And by classic, we mean an absolute gem of unsung cinema.
It is truly the pinnacle of movies about people running around cities.
So, complimentary cinema. We pick a film that's readily available online that you can watch for free, some with ads. Sometimes they don't. This one is free with ads on YouTube. The link will be in the description below the video. And it was your turn to pick the movie. And what was your criteria this week, Ken?
So my criteria was to pick based on the movie poster alone. I did pick also in consideration for the year the movie came out, because the last couple movies we saw were late 70s, 80s, and then we had seen a thousands, I believe. Wasn't the 2000?
The last film was, I think, 2003.
So I was looking for maybe a newer movie that looked kind of B-movie-ish.
Something a little more modern, a little more contemporary.
Yeah, just something a little more current, just, that was my only other criteria. So the movie poster for this film is, in fact, Taylor Lautner, who is the headliner of this film. And he's running and he's carrying a gun, and that is the movie poster.
That is the movie poster, and I think you read like a one sentence description of the film, and it happened to mention bike messenger.
Yes, I did.
The lead in this film is a bike messenger, and for those of you who don't know, Ken and I are avid cyclists, and we're complete bike dorks. So that really was what sold us. Was okay. It's a movie about a bike messenger.
Yeah, I mean, we both had been bike commuters for a number of years. Brian longer than me, but
by a minute, yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely it caught my attention once. I mean, I already basically selected it at that point, but then I was like, all right, well, this might be something that might be interesting.
I was definitely keen to check it out. So we go into the YouTube. We start playing the movie. I noticed it was made by Saban Films. Saban, I believe, is the same company that brought us Power Rangers in the U.S. in the early 90s. So that man has a keen eye for talent and fantastic intellectual properties. But apparently he fell short this time around.
Yeah.
Just a little.
I would say that it's completely accurate.
Thank you. So this film was written by Matt Johnson and a couple other guys, T.J. Scott and Kevin Lund. Matt Johnson is well known for currently having one film in pre-production and another one announced in the 5 years since this film came out.
Can you imagine? I mean, right now is probably the worst time to be these kind of people who do not have like big movies. They've got these probably small movies that are just lost in production somewhere.
They're kind of like the pizza delivery boys of the film industry. Like, they're not really heavy hitters,
Right, but then like a pandemic on top of that, Think of what kind of hell that must be for those kind of this level of movie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just a lot of running around, fussing. Okay, so Matt Johnson has basically crap writing credits to his portfolio, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're recording this late and we can't with the mouth words right now.
Mm-hmm.
So just bear with us, which is great because this is a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's all about the mouth words.
Our mouth words are still better than his mouth words in this film.
This is true. Okay, and then we also have T.J. Scott. He's worked on Star Trek Discovery and Gotham. So okay, he actually has had work since this film, which is unusual for most of the people associated with this film.
And I will say too that the level of writing this film might match a TV production better, which is most of his credits were TV productions, so that kind of made more sense. I don't know what role each of the writers played in this movie, but
the fact that it took 3 of them to come up with this was impressive.
Yeah.
So third writer Kevin Lund, his big credit to his name is Death Wish 5, The Face of Death.
Yes. Charles Bronson
connection right there.
rears his head once again.
his ugly, fat, bloated head, according to the poster of that film.
Yeah.
I actually haven't watched it yet. I know that is quite a sin. And this film was also directed by Daniel Benmayer, a Spanish director who, in the last 5 years, he's working on a film called Extremo, which is currently in post-production. Again, there's nothing noteworthy pretty much with any of the people associated with this film. We can tell you that this film was nominated for 2 Teen Choice Awards. It's rated PG-13. There's no real swearing. There's no nudity. What there is a lot of exercise.
Yeah. I would say with like, if there was like 75% less shooting in this movie, you could probably get away with like a PG rating.
Oh, absolutely. Like this is a cardio fitness workout video is what this is.
Mm-hmm. This movie is definitely for that, like people like teenagers or like early 20s and you're in parkour. Like this is definitely aimed straight at those people.
Yeah, and we didn't know that this really was a movie about parkour going into it. I think we kind of alluded to that in our little intro there. But Ken, why don't you go ahead and just get us started with a little quick synopsis of this film.
So yeah, the story is really about the main character who is a bike messenger, but he's kind of an extreme bike messenger. He does like tricks, kind of. He does like slides around corners, and he's just like everything he does. It's not like a normal bike messenger would just like bike in a straight line, turn on the next street, like maybe weave between some cars, but like that's probably about as exciting as that would get.
Yeah, I do believe in one scene he rides his bike down an escalator.
Yep. Down an escalator, he jumps over things across like sidewalks and stuff.
So so from very early on, he has that parkour spirit, as he is the parkourist. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. He is the parkourist of bike messaging.
Yeah.
In New York City.
Now, you've biked a number of times. You would over the last however many years of your life. How many times have you done anything extreme on your way to and from work?
As somebody who, as someone who respects traffic laws, and as somebody who wants to set a good example as a cyclist, and as somebody who is definitely keen on arriving to their destination in one piece and not putting anyone else at risk or in harm's way, I can say that I have never pulled any such stunts, Ken, and I've cycled through dense city traffic. I have gone over bridges. I've cycled all over the place, but I've done it responsibly.
I believe at one point in the extreme biking montage, he rolled his back over a car while he was holding onto his bike still. I was just like, that is so impractical and painful, and no one would ever do that for any reason.
I have gone over my bike a couple of times in small collisions, and I can tell you that was not pleasant.
Yeah.
Doing that with a car in front of me,
on top of the car,
and going over the car would be incredibly no.
Yeah.
Just
no one would do that intentionally.
No one would ever do that intentionally for fun, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just an old square, Ken. Perhaps there is a small cadre of extreme cyclists tormenting the cities of New York.
So anyway, we have his bike messenger character. He's down on his luck. He's just trying to supposedly he's just trying to make more money. So that translates into he needs more deliveries. He wants to work more so that he can get money. And why? What is the reason he needs the money?
Well, he needs the money because he owes some people money. He took out a loan from, shall we say, suspect businessmen, and bitch, they want their money. So, luckily, he ends up wrecking a bike while colliding into a parkourist, the first that we see here. I really should have looked up what the term for a parkour enthusiast would be.
I mean, parkourist, parkourian,
parkourer.
parkourer. I mean, it's a French word, right? So what's the Frenchiest?
Parkour.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like Parisian, like parkourin.
That seems like a really like key basic piece of info we should have researched before this, but
it's a good thing we're not going to do that.
It's a good thing that we're not going to do that because this movie doesn't deserve it, and we don't have time for that.
It would not add anything.
It would add nothing to this conversation. So where the hell were we? All right, so the guy, he's
he wrecks the bike.
He wrecks his bike,
and this gang. I use the term gang loosely of parkour enthusiasts have caused this collision, and they just leave the scene. So he's just kind of busted on the ground, and now he can't get money. So he
no bike, no work.
No bike, no work. He doesn't have hardly enough money. The people he owes the money to are threatening him. Hey, we need our money. This is when we need it, or else we're gonna basically kill you or do terrible things to you.
And he comes home to his garage that he lives in, and has to tell this sweet, single mother that, hey, he can't pay her rent yet.
Yeah.
Just all around a very melodramatic and sappy way to begin a film. But there you have it.
And he's paying $550 in rent to live in a garage.
Live in a garage with a broken down car.
With nothing, basically.
A 1967 Pontiac GTO. A nice looking vehicle if it were fixed up, but of course
it doesn't work.
In this film,
hood,
like everything else in his
not
life,
in good
it is
shape.
Completely dilapidated. It is barren and sad and desperate.
Yeah.
So the next day or two, he gets a call from work. Hey, it's like, hey, where are you? He's like, hey, I got no bike. And then, his boss tells him, your girlfriend dropped one off for you. So he's like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend. So he goes and goes to his bike messenger job, and there's a brand new giant bicycle, which Ken and I were immensely excited about that one.
That's some nice brand product placement there. We are in fact giant bike owners, so that is a near and dear to us.
Fantastic bikes, and Giant, if you're listening, the City Escapes are fantastic. I'll take one whenever you're ready.
Yes.
We
could always use a few more bikes.
Could always use some more bikes.
Or even just like a bike part. That'd be cool.
Bike parts are great. We like fancy rims. We like good gears.
And some new hand
grips, handlebars, grip tape.
Yeah.
Tires, wheels, whatever. Just we'll get a P.O. box.
So anyway, he gets the new bike. So he's back on the job. He can go do the errands and stuff like that. But for some reason, he's interested in this parkour girl. So he's trying to find her. So he goes where the other parkour people are hanging out in the city just to look for her. And he should be working because this is daylight hours.
He should be working because he was just threatened in just a few minutes before by scary Asian mafia people.
Yeah.
And he let down his landlady.
There's people out to kill him.
Literally out to kill. Well, they're not out to kill him at this stage of the film.
I mean, they want their money.
But they want their money.
Yeah. They don't really want to kill him. They just want their money. And he obviously is not doing well enough to get it.
And they'll do whatever they have to get that money. So the parkour girl that he ran into and wrecked his bike, bought him a new bike. He has the bike, but instead of doing his roots and being a responsible citizen, he's out chasing the parkour vibe.
Yeah. So that's kind of the subtext for this whole movie is he ends up chasing this girl pretty much for the rest of the film.
And that's basically it. Meanwhile, his responsibility to his bike messenger service falls completely by the wayside.
Yep.
What kind of example is that going to set for the youth who watch this film?
Not very good. He then, even when he's at work, he gets so interested in the parkouring that he ends up parkouring around his work building.
Which I thought was extra cringe.
If I worked there,
cringe.
Yeah, I would be so embarrassed for that guy. Like I would be the person in the corner whispering to the other people working there about how weird that guy was.
Like, Kent, you work in an office.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you just started parkouring around desks and
No.
computer monitors?
No.
Off couches and chairs.
It would be a big
and potted plants.
It would be a huge embarrassment.
It would be.
Yeah. So anyway, extreme biker guy though, it's perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine. You know, he's on the cutting edge of thrill seeking in New York City. This is just another layer, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So he hooks up along with these parkour people soon enough, since he's not doing his job and just kind of hanging out wherever the hell they are. Runs into the girl again, chases her around, finds more of their people. Yada yada yada.
And basically, the other thing there too is like she's like, oh, that extreme biking, like you're such a pansy. Like parkour is the true and noble art.
That's the real freedom, right?
Yeah,
I believe at one point she calls bicycling a ball and chain.
Yes.
I would love to see her ride 5 miles or walk 5 miles and then get back to me on that one.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So, long story short, so we're about 20, 30 minutes into the film at this point. I'm already pulling the skin off my face in exasperation of the bad dialogue, the bad pacing, and realizing that we still have at least an hour to go on this film.
There's not a whole lot of direction the plot can go that could save this because it's all like all of the characters, they're not like there's like an annoying parkour guy and you think like he's kind of like the bully guy, but they don't really go anywhere with that. All of the characters are super one-dimensional. They only have like this one thing that's either like their secret that's driving them or like their goal that they're going towards. And that's it for all of these people.
They really are sketches of characters.
I mean, even our main character doesn't really have much personality.
None.
His personality is that he likes to keep secrets, and he doesn't like people to like help him, I guess, or like I don't know. That's not even really characteristic either. It's just for some reason he wants to be involved, he wants to be included, but he also just
he keeps everyone at arm's length.
Right.
And anytime anybody asks him a direct question about what's going on with him or what's going on in his life, he needlessly evades or lies.
Yeah.
So like he's in trouble with this Chinese mafia. They ask him like, hey, like what do you got going on? It's like, oh, I'm fine. Lying to people he doesn't need to lie to.
Yeah, he has
being deceptive for no reason.
He has nothing to lose with these people. He has nothing bad could happen to him if he told them the truth because he's already he's already associating with these people who, at this point are just, they're doing parkour in their free time and, having fun with it basically. But it turns out that they're also all the rest of them are also working together.
They are also messengers of sorts, currying goods and services.
Yes.
So that's the kind of common link between all of them. And they offer him a job of sorts. They bring him into the fold. Drama ensues. And it's basically...
Does drama really ensue, though? They bring him into the fold, and there's so little drama.
I use the term... okay, I know that, this is radio. You can't see my face. You can't see my eyebrows.
We can hear the face.
Raised. But I'm going to tell you right now, I use that expression as loosely as humanly possible. This was, in fact, one of the more... This was an incredibly tedious film to get through. It was only our constant insults while watching it that really made it watchable.
The problem is there's too many scenes where once you know what's happening, once you know all the actors and how all the players are set up, then they just go through the motions too many times. Okay, we're going to go on a job and the people are going to talk and he's going to learn a little more about what they're doing. And then the job's over and then gets the money. He's going to go back to the house and then something bad's going to happen with the gang. And it's just this cycle.
It falls into a really tedious pattern incredibly quickly.
Where the same things keep happening. And it's like, okay. Because I even said the second time when they were doing a job. Okay, they're doing the criminal jobs. Something's going to go wrong. No, nothing went wrong.
No, everything went fine.
We just did another job, which we've already done.
He got paid again.
We did a third job.
We did a third job.
Once again, everything went fine.
Everything went fine.
So it's like, there's nothing, like, eventually something's going to go wrong because it's a movie and we have to move the plot ahead somehow. It's either going to be the mob because that's who he owes money to, or it's going to be these people he's associating with now. And that's where the problem's going to come in. It's not rocket science. There's no other people in this movie. There's nowhere else plot-wise they could go.
I completely concur.
It's just,
I have so little to say about this film.
There's no drama between the people in the group. The new guy is the new guy. So there's a little bit of that. But really, even they don't give him that much trouble.
They really don't haze him. They don't really make him earn his place.
Not really.
Like they give him one test.
Yeah, they give him a little bit of grief.
Early on, they give him a little bit of grief. And then after that, it's like, yeah, whatever, you're in, you're fine. And they just do jobs. And what's incredible to me is how every actor on here, it's like an action star from Wish. None of them are memorable. None of their faces stand out to me. None of them have acting credits for anything that I can even recognize or have heard of. And it just we just watched this film, Ken, and just the memory of it is already fading.
Yeah. The other thing, character development wise, that really bothered me with the main character is we have this character who's been in and out of juvie all his life, right? And then his mom got sick and died, and somehow that made him a good person. Like, not a good person even, because he's okay getting involved with crime, but like, he's like hesitant to go like be involved in killing people. And like,
well, that's fair.
I don't know. Like, there's no reason for him to be the good guy.
He's morally ambiguous in many respects. He's morally ambiguous. He has no real ties. He has no roots.
I think it's just that goes back to he has no personality. If there was a personality reason, like there's a couple times in this movie where I just turned and looked at you and I said, they didn't come up with a reason for why this is important. Like they didn't come up with it's just he needs money and that's it. And then, but even then, it's like if he needed money, he would go work for it. Like,
and he's really
when
good.
He had opportunities too.
He's really good at not doing his day job either.
Yeah,
like he bounces on that very, very quickly.
Even when he's doing these other jobs, he could have kept doing the day job.
Yeah,
because these other jobs take like an hour, maybe. They're just like literally running a shipment of something in a van from one place in town to another.
Yeah, he wouldn't need to do much.
And he could run his bike route the rest of the week.
Yeah, he could run his bike route. He can do the occasional like moonlight gig in his little crime family and call it good, man. He could be rolling in dough.
Yeah.
Instead, he's just practicing parkour on an old decommissioned ship and jumping around, and just the amount of running and jumping and hopping and skipping and twirling. And how many times did we see somebody jump on something they didn't need to jump on?
Yeah.
Just to get back onto the ground? At least 3 times.
It was basically a meme by the end of the movie because like the first time was like in the first scene with the parkour people. This chick literally jumps on top of a car and then on top of a van just so she can jump down from the van. Like she literally could have just run around the whole situation and it would have been faster.
It would have been faster, and
it would have made more sense.
And it would have been easier on her knees as well.
Yeah. So there's a lot of times where people jump up on something just to jump back down.
Just for the visual effect of it.
Just for parkour.
Of just people just hopping around and flying.
Now, when they're running from one place to another, all of that's fine. Jumping up on buildings.
There is a lot of running.
That's fine. If you jump up and down, there's levels of the roofs. There's a lot of roof chases in this film. Most of the action is roof chases.
Lots of roof chases. With some street running. But not too
running
much.
And some like going through buildings. That's like the other element.
There's lots of hallways.
Chasing through hallways.
I liked the scene where they ran through doorways, through hallways, and then out windows, and then onto streets, and then into other buildings and over cars.
Oh, all the scenes.
All the scenes, yeah. So that's basically the movie in a nutshell. I forgot the part where we say that this podcast is spoilers, but I
don't feel like we spoiled anything.
I don't think we've spoiled anything, and I don't think anybody normally we save our little review for the end as far as our recommendation. I'm just going to tell you right now, don't watch this. This is a waste of time. If you like watching films that make you exhausted just from looking at them, this is going to be definitely for you. If you're somebody who's looking for, good acting, good writing, compelling plot, this is not going to be your cup of tea. But for what this is, basically a parkour fluff piece, it's fairly well made. Pretty good cinematography, pretty good editing. The acting isn't great, but it's not awful. It's just, it's for a lot of people, it's a run it and forget it. But what's up with that name, Tracers?
Yeah, so Tracers is apparently another name for parkour or free running or whatever you want to call it. Apparently that's tracing is another name for that.
Tracing, okay.
So Tracer is the guy.
So that answers our earlier question. What do we call these parkourists? They are tracers.
Yeah.
Tracers.
So I want to say, because you were kind of talking about this, but the other thing that's a lot of the movie is just shots of New York. A lot of it is just
so many establishing shots.
Making sure that we are in New York City. There's a lot of the landmarks, the bridges are in the background a lot of the time. There's
see the Empire State Building.
Empire State Buildings in the background is some of the main roof shots. The places where they're at.
The New World Trade Center.
Yep. So a lot of the landmark buildings are in the background. They,
Brooklyn Bridge.
Wide shots of all this stuff. So that's another big part of it, showing the subway a whole lot on the raised tracks. So I feel like that's the other not character, but as far as build, making you feel like you're in this place. I feel like they did that okay, as far as they showed the city at least.
Sure.
But yeah, that's just another thing.
It's just
I guess when the plot was letting me down, at least I had some nice pretty backgrounds and
I'll say this for New York. You can have a bad movie, but set it there. Just the establishing shots of New York City makes the movie feel like it's a bigger movie than it is.
Yeah.
And a bigger budget movie than it is. What was the budget on this piece of crap?
It was, I believe, 11 million.
11 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was, I was saying kind of I don't think they probably paid much for locations and stuff, but just shooting the action scenes was probably a big chunk of that. There was a decent number of action scenes later on in the film.
A fair amount of stunt work too, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like most of the main characters did a lot of the easy parkour stuff themselves. It didn't seem like they used stunt doubles for that. You could see their faces through some of it. It's the moderate stuff. It seems like they did themselves.
The running.
Yeah, the running and
the hopping.
Yeah.
The bouncing.
So yeah, that was, I guess, good as far as being genuine. But yeah, I would say most of it was the action, and then just probably the filming. I don't know. I know they didn't spend a whole lot. I mean, maybe Taylor Lautner took a big chunk as being the recognizable person.
Yeah, he is the one bankable actor in this entire film, and he's done almost nothing since 2016.
They had to rent all the cars for them to roll over.
That would be a budget expense.
Not for the cars to roll over, for people to roll their bodies over cars. Yeah.
That definitely would be stunt work there.
But yeah, apparently it made 18 million.
18 million?
Yeah, something like that. 18 point
So
something.
not a failure.
No, not by any stretch.
Not a commercial success, but not a complete flop that cost people money.
I mean, right, and I can't imagine they spent much on marketing, so it's not like, their bottom line probably was fine. I mean, they didn't exceed expectations, but
doesn't seem like the kind of film that even had a theatrical release. It was probably just available on Netflix one day or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that the return was box office, so that was theatrical.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Apparently, in home video, it only made some much smaller amount. So, But yeah, I guess I don't know if it's been on any other streaming other than YouTube. It seems like the kind of movie you would put on one of those services because it's, I'm sure, very cheap to obtain.
Not an enduring classic.
But it's, you know, it's got a recognizable main guy, and that brings in the women folk, and it's running around in guns and stuff, I'm sure, in the trailer. So that attracts men folk, and
I can certainly see, the demographic appeal, like, young people.
yes, this is definitely aimed at.
It's definitely a young, like, late teens, early 20s. This is definitely a film for you.
Yeah.
As somebody who is approaching, shall we say, the nadir of my prime, I will say that the party scene, the outdoor party scene was too much for me. I looked at Ken and I'm too old for this. I'm too old for party scenes in movies.
Yeah, the party scene, just the general, like, this is just exhausting. Like, all this running and, like, this is just exhausting. Like, who would want to do this to yourself?
Like, I love cycling, but, like, cycling in bad traffic, running around in bad traffic, having to jump over buildings and rooftops, and then going and, like, having to dance and, like, be social. It's incredibly exhausting. And you made a really fantastic point during the dance party scene, like, about how all these people can do all these amazing parkour things, but none of them could dance worth a shit.
No,
they could not dance.
Yeah, the main girl was literally just, like, spinning around and, like, putting her hands up a little, and
white girl dancing.
Main guy didn't even try.
He didn't try. Yeah,
he just grinded up on her a little bit, and that was it.
And looked at her with beady, hungry eyes.
Nobody could dance.
Nobody could dance.
No.
Some of the extras were okay.
Yeah.
But that was only because there was just so many of them.
That's what they were there for, though.
That's what they were there for. They were there to dance.
So, I don't know. I think the other failure of this film is the reveals we have into each person's, like, personal backstory and character doesn't mean anything for the rest of the film.
It has no bearing on the plot whatsoever.
At one point, Brian looked over and said to me, like, if they had not told us this, it wouldn't have made a single difference. It made absolutely no impact on the film.
Well, what's better is, they were the lead actress, Marie Averga. Oh, how do we?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Okay, this Greek American actress, Marie Avgeropoulos. Marie Avgeropoulos. All right, let me say it 8-9 more times. At a certain point, like, say, roughly midway through the film, she has a revealing confessional moment to our protagonist, if you will. I mean, you can't really call him the good guy because he's kind of a schmuck, but she reveals to the protagonist, the reason for her predicament, or at least the outline of it. And then a short time later, you find out more detail of that reveal, of the real reason why, and it changes nothing. It affects nothing. It's more extraneous exposition, which does not affect the course of the film, does not affect the course of any of the characters' relationships. It changes nothing. It does not really inform or retrofit the previous information that we learned. There was no reason to have that scene twice, in other words.
It doesn't develop the characters at all.
At all.
We already knew all we needed to know.
And then they told us more, which didn't add to that at all in any appreciable way.
Yep.
Just like each successive job that they do doesn't really add anything to the story, doesn't really move the story forward. We didn't need to see it.
I think what they really failed to with the parkour people, like, none of them had, like, any quirks or, like, endearing traits. Like, none of them had any, like, typically in this kind of movie, it would be like, I'm the guy that is the wisecracking guy, or, like, I'm the guy that's, when you assemble a team, you have to have, like, a dynamic.
Especially when you have, like, 4 or 5 of them who are tight-knit, as they are presented to be in here. They're not colorful people.
The dynamic is there's a bunch of guys, and then there's the one girl.
Yeah.
And that's the dynamic in the group.
And all but one of the guys just kind of stand around trying to look macho. Like, they have lines of dialogue, but what they are doesn't matter. They look around at things, but, who cares what they're looking at? They're just there. They're window dressing.
So I think that's my main criticism of this movie is it ends up being no interesting characters and just a barely serviceable plot. It's just it's a plot to get us from A to B to C and eventually D.
It's a very mechanical plot.
And
it doesn't flow.
But since you don't care about the characters, I mean, technically even the Chinese mob guy has more character than
Oh, absolutely.
the good guys.
He has like what, maybe 4 scenes totaling maybe 5 minutes of screen time. And he is more memorable, and you're right, you're absolutely right. He has good dialogue, he has good delivery. He has like, you believe his character.
Yeah.
You believe when he talks to you, you believe him.
Yep.
All right? Like he's an intimidating presence.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot say that for any of the other villains, if you will.
Like their personality as they run around and jump over things.
It's an aerobics video. This is a cardio video.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, all that's missing is the spandex and the instructions themselves. So let's get back on track here. So best performance, worst performance. So best performance, definitely our Chinese mafia man, Jerry, I believe his name was. He definitely gives a small, understated, but perfectly wonderful role there. And also the landlady, Angie, did a really great job. That was a good, believable character.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, Jerry, he looked like a normal guy too, which I liked. Like he was the contact man, but then he also had like a big muscly guy with him.
Yeah, he had the right balance of having the face. You know, he's like well dressed. He's well taken care of. He's not like super muscly, you know, and ripped, but he has that presence. He brings presence to his role.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of these other people just showed up and be like, all right, my character's name is this. Okay. And that feels like the extent of their involvement in their character.
Mm.
And the rest of the time, it's like they're just worried about, you know, just their time and their speed, which, you know, of course, in a film like this, based on parkour, sure, that's absolutely important.
Yeah. Yeah. He was good. Like you mentioned, the mom at the place he was staying was good.
The landlady was good. Yeah. Angie.
Unfortunately, they didn't involve them very much outside of the first act. They threatened they're going to do something to her, or like, you know, her son, but that's basically it. You know, they don't ever bring them back into the story, which is something I would have done.
They really drop them out like halfway through.
They could have brought them into the third act easily and made that another like, oh no, something's going to happen.
Why introduce them if they're not going to be important?
They just aren't.
They drop them about 2/3 of the way through, and you don't hear from them again.
Yeah.
What is the outcome of that? I mean, you can extrapolate and you can assume, but it would have tied the room together to bring them back in for at least a minute and something.
Yeah.
But you don't get that.
Or the ending or anything.
No.
Yeah. So as far as worst.
Yeah. Like what? Worst performance, Ken. What is the worst performance here? I'm going to say it's the ginger guy. The self-described ginger guy, Jax.
Mm-hmm.
One of the parkour people.
Yeah.
Just gave a really awful line at the dance party scene.
He had a bad line when they were sitting around the table on the boat too.
Yeah.
Like just it didn't.
Yeah.
I literally said out loud, "This is not how people talk." Like the way that he delivered it, and this what they were saying, which that's not his fault, but the way he said it and what they were saying was like, this is not how people sit around and have a conversation.
The style and the substance was awful and dreadful.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a pretty good a pick there. Honestly, I don't know. I think all the parkour guys are pretty equally forgettable. Even the quote unquote main one, Dylan, he still ends up being more interesting in the first act as a potential person, and then once again kind of just loses his character and is not important in the end.
Again, why introduce them if they're not going to be important? They just kind of throw them. When you first meet him, you're like, oh shit, this guy is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Like
this is going to be like the big, you know, and you know, okay, so it was a nice little twist that he wasn't the main antagonist, or he just ends up being nothing.
Yeah, I think
he's just there.
He did okay in the first act, as good maybe even in the first act, and then progressively did worse and worse until by the end, like that's when I think it was the worst performance. He became no character by the end. Like he became not important. That's not his fault because whatever, that's writing, but he also just became not a character at all.
Well, what about the other parkour guy who gets the gun pulled on him in the van, and then that's the last you see of him?
Yeah, we never explain it. Yeah,
Did he decide to be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to get out of the van. I'm going to go get a hot dog. I'm going to go get a Coney Island dog. I'll see you guys later. Have fun. We never know.
That's what I mean. I just assumed, she let him go because it doesn't make sense. She would just shoot him. So I assumed that she just let him go. But then it's like it's another character that just didn't matter.
So what characters did matter?
And here's the reason why. Here's the reason why that is because they were only important to be serviceable in some conversation scenes, and then they could go run and jump around. Like the parkour thing is all they really cared about for those characters.
These characters are window dressing.
We need people to run around on screen to look like there's a whole bunch of things happening because there's a bunch of people running and jumping.
They were big on the running and jumping, and they were big on having having scenes busy.
Yeah.
Didn't matter if anything important was happening, but they wanted things to look busy all the time in this film. Which again, like I said, if you wanted to be exhausted just watching a film, this is a good way to go. There's just lots of needless busyness on the screen. But the action scenes were pretty decent.
Yeah.
For what they were.
Yeah, some of them were pretty good. Or better than others, I guess I should say. But yeah, it was decent when you could see what was going on and kind of get a sense of the space of the situation. I think that's where it struggled sometimes is like, okay, you got a bunch of people running and jumping, but if you don't have a sense of where point A is and point B is, where they're going to, it's hard to process it.
It's like watching joggers just go past you.
If you're jumping from one viewpoint to another and cutting around, and then you're seeing all these people just jump, I mean, yeah, you can see when they go to the same place. Like you see a landmark that you recognize from the previous person jumping, but like some of the scenes, it's really hard to follow along with what the hell's even going on. So the action scenes where you can tell what's going on, I think are the better ones, where you can get a sense of where we're going, where the direction is. What was the soundtrack in this movie?
I don't even remember it.
Was there one?
Yeah, there was music. It was
there?
It was like electronic dance music. It was completely forgettable.
I didn't even hear it.
That's what I'm saying. It's there.
Is it?
It's there.
That's interesting.
Like much of this film, it just vanishes into thin air when you think about it. I have like nothing else to add on the music.
Yeah.
It's there and then it's gone.
I didn't even notice it.
It's like a ninja, like a parkour ninja. Now you see it, now you don't. Now you hear it, now you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So your final score and recommendation on this, Ken? Got something else to add?
Yeah, can we just backtrack just for a second? So the only other thing we didn't cover is the leader of the parkour group. We didn't mention it all at any point in this review. I feel like that would be... I don't need to talk a whole lot about it.
It would be a glaring omission to leave him out.
But he wasn't the best or worst, so he didn't come up.
He comes off as kind of like a likable chode.
So yeah, basically it's like slightly older guy than the rest of this group, and he's kind of like the organizer. If you've seen like some other organized crime movies, he would be like the middle manager. You know what I mean? He's like the team leader, but he's not really like a high up kind of guy. And he's just, he's a crime guy that he knows the places to go to get the work and the places to rob or whatever. He has all the information.
He's the man with the inside track.
So anyway, I just wanted to at least mention him. He was, I guess, the only other character that was memorable, as far as he had a little bit of character and story, and was kind of a good guy and bad guy. I guess there's nothing else to say there.
He was another morally ambiguous character in a film full of morally ambiguous characters.
Yeah.
Every single character in this film is morally ambiguous.
Yeah.
The Chinese mafia people are morally ambiguous. Our protagonist is morally ambiguous. His romantic interest is morally ambiguous. Their boss is morally ambiguous. I'll even say that the landlady is morally ambiguous because at one point she says like, "Hey, you know, you're getting mixed up with stuff I don't want to be involved in. Get away. Oh, I'll take your money."
Yeah.
He comes to offer her money after she's already put him out on the street and she accepts it.
True.
So to a point, I mean, it's a little more.
No one ends up being good.
No one is perfectly good. Much like real life, most people are a shade of gray.
Just like real life.
Just like real life. Parkour.
So what is your final assessment of this film?
My final assessment of this film is skip it.
Yeah.
Just skip it. I ran out of things to say about this film like 6 minutes into our podcast this evening. It's an unmemorable film with unmemorable acting, unmemorable dialogue, an unmemorable plot. 3 weeks from now, I'm not even going to remember the name of this film.
To me, there was about 2 interesting plot points, and even that wasn't enough to justify the rest of the movie. It really wasn't. There's just not enough meat there, and the only thing it really has different from other movies is the whole parkour aspect. So if you want to watch people run around and do parkour, then that's fine.
If you're a parkour fan, or
this is the movie for you.
Or if you're a tracer, this would be a great film. Sure. It could be even an instructional video. It could be, I could see it becoming a classic in the parkour subculture. But likely not.
I think parkour has also been done better in other movies too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there was the one James Bond movie it was in pretty prominently in the beginning. There's some other films I've seen where it plays kind of a more prominent role as well. This one really tried to focus on it, and they forgot all of the other parts about making an interesting movie. They tried, but it just came out as melodrama and just kind of crap, really. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty good summary.
I say skip it. Ken says it's crap. There you have it, folks.
It was a film.
It was a film that cost us 94 minutes of our lives that we'll never get back again.
But it cost us $0. And that's
it did cost us $0. And that, my friends, is the big advantage of joining us with complimentary cinema.
It could also cost you $0.
I do believe that's what I was aiming at.
But it will take away your precious time.
It will take away your precious time. 94 minutes to watch the film, even longer if you talk about it afterward, which I don't recommend. If you watch this film, do not sit down with your buddy and talk about this film afterward.
Don't waste any more words on this film.
Don't waste any more words on it. And in fact, if you've been listening to this podcast,
just move on.
Just move on. Just listen to the podcast. Don't watch the film, or watch the film and don't listen to the podcast. Which I wouldn't normally say because
no.
We want listeners.
Listen to the podcast.
Come on now. Fine. Listen to the podcast.
I'm gonna make that into where people have the review quotes. It's like,
listen to the podcast.
The stock room. don't bother listening to the podcast. Don't listen to the movie.
Go watch the film. Don't listen to this podcast.
Would not recommend.
0 out of 10. Any other final thoughts, Ken?
I think that's it for this.
All
right. That's what we got.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us this week for Complimentary Cinema on the O&M Stockroom. We're your hosts, Brian McGarry.
And Ken O'Malley.
And we will see you next week. Leave us a comment in the below letting us know what parts of this film you hated the most. And we'll see you soon.